Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another fire episode of Crypto Charge, where we're here to help you supercharge your crypto gains and give you that opportunity to retire early. Now, this Monday, I'm not going to lie, went a little bit differently than what I thought was going to happen. I expected when I opened up my portfolio this morning after an unbelievable run that we've seen in Bitcoin over the last, week or so, I expected a doom and gloom Monday. The same time when last time my portfolio kind of got to these levels again, we kind of started hitting that $52,000, $53,000 level. And then lo and behold, we had that nasty Monday following the announcement of when we saw El Salvador adopt Bitcoin, and my absolutely portfolio got kicked in the balls basically, and I lost about $600,000 in my portfolio within a day. And I opened up my portfolio cautiously this morning, being like, okay, it's a federal holiday here in the United States. Let's see what could happen. And boy, could I have been more wrong. It was a beautiful, beautiful big green day. And before I, give too much away, let's kind of pop right over to my good colleague Dan, and he can kind of fill us in on what the charts are showing and, how he's cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, so we've been seeing a lot of positive news recently on the cryptocurrency front and specifically to Bitcoin. First of all, it's been a great October, right? We've seen prices up pretty much like 33%. I'll show you on the charts. And it's been really optimistic. And a lot of this has been fueled from comments from Fed Chair Powell saying that the US is not going to ban China like China, not ban Bitcoin like China, but also SEC Chair Gensler saying the same thing, that they don't want to ban Bitcoin. But then the other big news is that there's actually 4 announcements of potential ETFs for Bitcoin that is going to be announced over the next 2 weeks, let's say. The big one that has, according to some analysts out there, about a 75% chance of getting approved is the ProShares Bitcoin ETF. Now, it's not going to be based on like the spot price of Bitcoin, but on futures of Bitcoin. But it still would be a big win. And really the first big step in getting some ETFs, which we've been trying to get approved forever in Bitcoin. And this is something that could really, I think, spark and lead to much greater adoption, make it easy for people to get some type of exposure to Bitcoin, and ultimately, I think, can be a really good thing. Now, the only thing that kind of raises a flag for me is, the good old buy the rumor, sell the news. And, we've actually pointed out to you on this stream some other examples of this. And I just want to show you the chart real quick, if you could pull that up, Gavin. But if you remember back on September 7th, as Brian was mentioning, this was where we had a lot of optimism going into El Salvador Day, where they were announcing it as legal tender. And we were also seeing big names out there in social media, on Twitter, like Michael Saylor, saying, hey, everybody buy Bitcoin in solidarity with El Salvador. When you see things like that, sometimes it raises some red flags, trying to get retail in at, probably some of the worst points. And then what do we see happen? You see Bitcoin drop over $10,000 in one day, this big red pepperoni candle, as I like to call it, and Bitcoin dropped almost 20%. Okay, so these are the kind of things that we want to try to really point out to you and give you some heads up. So ultimately, I'm bullish on the price of Bitcoin and where it's heading. I do think we're going to set a new all-time high. But in about a week, which is October 18th, when this approval is going to be happening, just keep this in mind. We could very well continue to see the price of Bitcoin climb up into that, but might see a sharp downturn when the actual story is released, when it's actually approved, buying the rumor and then selling the news. So just something to mark your calendars to keep an eye out for. If you are in a lot of profit at that point, might be a good idea to think about, if you're comfortable with it, reducing a little exposure and maybe having a little bit of a dip to buy if it plays out the way that we've seen it sometimes with other big releases like this in the past. Now, when we take a look at the chart of Bitcoin, as I mentioned, this is October 1st right here. You could see that it's been a very favorable October. We've moved up about almost 34%. And when we take a look at a little bit of a bigger picture, we've really had a nice move up since testing that 40,000 level. Hopefully you guys got in around that 40,000, where actually Matt had said a little bit beneath 40,000 would be a really good entry point. And boy, was it ever. I mean, we've gone up, $17,000 in Bitcoin since then. So, really good entry points there. But when we take a look, you can see what's happened with Bitcoin. It's really been pretty parabolic, right? You've seen it move higher, consolidate, move higher, consolidate, move higher, consolidate, move higher. So it's been on a really aggressive pace higher. And while I'm still very optimistic to set a new all-time high in the coming months, you don't oftentimes see it trade like this without some type of a retrace. Look at the past. When we saw this bull run happening here in early 2021, you could see we move higher. We came down and tested the 50-day moving average, move higher, tested the 50-day, move higher, tested on our way up to new all-time highs. So, this can't stay on forever. Is it going to happen before October 18th? Is it going to coincide with October 18th? Who knows, right? But we'll be watching and monitoring this for you. But the other thing is let's inspect some of the technical levels a little bit more granularly. So from the lows that we saw around 28,800, if you take a look at a Fibonacci retracement level, we have regained and we are testing 78.6% of those losses. So we got above that really important 702 Fibonacci level, which in the past we've seen this level get hit and we've seen big pullbacks from there as traders are taking profits at that 70% retracement level. But now we're up at the 786. And if you take a look and we just zoom in, and I'm just going to go to a 4-hour chart so you can get a little bit of a better idea of it here. But you can see that we broke above it, and now we're actually testing it as a floor of support. So if this level holds, we certainly could move up higher. But if we do break beneath it and we're not able to remain above it, I do think that we could see price come down, and the first stop would probably be around 54,000. But if we take a look back, the next target to the upside, if we just go back to a day chart, is a really, really important level. And it's this level right here. After we set the all-time high and we dropped down and we came back up to, roughly 59,600, and then we really went all the way down to about 29,000. This is the key level here that we need to get back above, because just like we mentioned here that we had this ABC correction and we had to get above this B leg to invalidate it. Well, this is a bigger ABC correction. Okay. And we need to get back above this level, this 59,600, let's call it, before we can move higher and set ultimately a new all-time high. So that's a key level to the upside. But listen, don't be surprised if we do see a potential retracement from some of these levels. It would be healthy. You can't remain parabolic and just move up in a straight line forever, which is somewhat of what we've been seeing. Also, when we take a look at some of the momentum indicators, you can see that looking at the stochastics, we're in overbought territory. Now, listen, it's always looking at a confluence of things, okay? So you can remain in overbought or oversold levels for extended periods of time. But you should note that we are in overbought conditions. So again, this would coincide with potentially seeing a little bit of a retrace or at least a consolidation for a period of time before advancing to the next leg higher. Now, real quick, just to touch on some of the on-chain analytics, if we take a look at the transaction sizes that we've been seeing for Bitcoin, you can see that they've increased significantly. So the average transaction size right now is around 1.3 Bitcoin per transaction, versus being about half a Bitcoin or so when we were seeing just last month. So what does this tell us? This tells us that we're seeing entities most likely stepping in and buying a lot of Bitcoins at these levels and accumulating here, which is a good sign. And the last time we saw it at some of these high levels that we're seeing, we saw a big rally ensue in Bitcoin. The other thing I wanted to just show you is that long-term holders, they continue to accumulate. I mean, just take a look at this. This is long-term holders continuing to pick up Bitcoins. They're holding them for more than 155 days to be counted as long-term. And when we see this number continue to rise, you're continuing to see supply shock. They have over 86% of the Bitcoins out there. So we're seeing what's called supply shock, where you're getting like a squeeze in the supply, which is causing the price of Bitcoin to go higher. But this isn't going to last forever. When we start to see it roll over, that is typically when you see these individuals, these long-term holders taking profits. You then see the short-term holders starting to pick up a bunch of these coins. And then you continue to see price rally. But when long-term holders get to like a low point, that's usually when you see the turning point. So you can see that they are still accumulating at this point in time. So overall, for the longer term, the next few months or so, it's hard to put an exact time on it. This is looking extremely bullish to potentially set a new all-time high in the future. But once this changes, we'll be the first to let you know about it and start to get you prepared ahead of that.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate that so much, Dan. I know that so many of us are, one of the things that we absolutely love about the on-chain ability is it gives us the ability to look a little bit in the future with some actual facts. So the fact that long-term holders have not yet really started to start taking some good amount of profits really does show that even if we do see a little bit of a correction, we still do have a decent amount of runway left in us to kind of hit those marks. And one of the things that I myself have really tried to focus in and try to bring you guys is I am always been obsessed with trying to find patterns fundamentally that will bring projects to the front of my mind, which I can then lean on the technical analysis ability of both Dan and Matt to kind of help you guys get in on some projects before they really take a moon. And so one of the projects that I really want to focus in on today is a project that I personally own and got in about 3 weeks ago, and that's known as Moonriver. Now, what I want to do before I really kind of break down Moonriver is I want to teach you guys something here. And so what you have to understand is when a project comes about and it determines the amount of supply of coins that it's going to allocate, it breaks it down on a percentage on how those coins are going to be allocated. Now, if it's a fair launch or if it's pre-mined. What a fair launch means is what Bitcoin was. At inception, nobody was given any coins, and the only coins that were put into existence were the ones that were done on a proof of work by the miners that were being rewarded for their actually mining efforts on validating transactions, on the Bitcoin network. Well, that isn't the case for most cryptocurrency projects. Most cryptocurrency projects that are launching nowadays are a proof of stake or a proof of work consensus mechanism, and those are pre-mined, which means a certain number of coins are put into existence, usually through an ICO or something of the sort, and they're basically allocated to different groups of individuals. They basically say, okay, we have 100% of our coins. Let's give 10% of the coins to the team that helped launch the project. Let's give 50% for staking rewards for those that are going to keep the actual network secure and validating the transactions going forward. Let's use a certain percentage of it for community governance, and let's use a certain amount of it for maintaining the network in the future and growing the foundation. Well, one of the really unique things that I've come to learn about is basically something known as DeFi incentive programs. And what a DeFi incentive program is just as this. Think of it as a hype campaign. And this hype campaign is basically done by the project that says, okay, we're going to take a certain percentage of the coins that we have left kind of in the reserves, and we're going to reward these coins for individuals that are going to go ahead and basically do certain tasks that we feel is going to bring the project moving forward. Whether this is rewarding individuals for building dApps or basically decentralized applications, or maybe for bringing games onto the network, or maybe it's bringing additional type of projects from other blockchains onto this particular blockchain that they're launching. And so, Gavin, if you want to pull up my screen, I want to show you what has happened when different DeFi incentives have been launched and what has been the result of the price of those coins shortly thereafter. So one thing that, if you guys don't know yet, crypto news typically breaks first on Twitter. That is the preferred mechanism that individuals have used to communicate in the crypto space. It's very quick, it's very fast, and where it's done. And so, too much of the credit of an individual whose name is Donnie Big Bags and who is one of my favorite actual crypto. He really focuses on Kusama and Polkadot. Him with Uninex, another one on here, brought this about. So this was released just this weekend, so this is breaking news. 1 million of Moonriver tokens, approximately $300 million, is ready to bootstrap DeFi liquidity. What that basically means is $300 million worth of Moonriver is being allocated to help launch other projects and bring different user adoption onto this blockchain. And here's what's happened and how other blockchain projects and crypto projects, what they did post launching their DeFi incentive funds campaigns. So Matic, known as Polygon, launched a $150 million DeFi incentive campaign on April 28th. By May 18th, it had gone up 215% on its price. Now look at Avalanche, one of my personal favorite projects, which went ahead and they launched their all infamous DeFi campaign. And on that DeFi campaign on August 18th, price went up 240% by September 23rd after launching their DeFi campaign. Now, Phantom Token, on August 30th, they launched a 370 million token campaign, and now that project is up 320% as of this weekend. Now we have Moonriver. Now, what you're going to see with Moonriver is Moonriver, as they've announced on the Moonbeam Foundation, what they've gone ahead and done is they have launched, whoops, here we go. They've launched and announced that they are going to basically be doing a DeFi project incentive, and it's called a liquidity program. So it says, as I've read, we're thrilled to announce that the Moonbeam Foundation, now the Moonbeam Foundation is the parent foundation, and Moonbeam will be the token on Polkadot, whereas Moonriver is the token on Kusama. Kusama is the live working test network and a completely separate independent blockchain of the Polkadot ecosystem. So things launch on Kusama first before making their way in their other version or brother version of it to Polkadot. So we have decided that we are taking 10% of the total Genesis supply of Moonriver tokens to incentivize liquidity programs on Moonbeam and Moonriver respectively. These allocation of these liquidity programs will help effectively and competitively bootstrap activity in the Moonbeam and Moonriver ecosystem. We're extremely excited to export the increased user adoption and success for a myriad of teams building on the Moonbeam network. So you can come down here and you'll always see on originally how that program was launched, and then it tells you exactly how the token allocation changes, and more importantly, they're going to be giving 1 million Moonriver tokens to go ahead, empowered by community initiatives and parachain slot reserve funds. Now, it tells you down here when it's going to be starting, when they basically launch. So in September of 2021, Moonriver launched as they won the parachain slot auction. Now, what's going to be basically happening now, Gavin, you can go ahead and close my screen. What's going to basically be happening now is Moonriver, which is currently traded on, where I've purchased it, on the KuCoin network, has now been launching a 1 million token, and mind you, they have a 10 million fixed supply of Moonriver, and they're using this as a DeFi incentive program to reward both developers and individuals that want to bring their projects and their users from other blockchains onto the Kusama network using the Moonriver, basically parachain bridge. Well, you're probably asking yourself, Brian, it sounds like a bunch of jargon. What the heck is it in layman's terms? Well, basically, Moonriver is basically an EVM. It's basically an Ethereum virtual machine bridge. What it basically does in very easy terms is Ethereum right now, we all know, from a smart contract system is the most robust. They have more transactions than any other smart contract ecosystem, and it's been built using Solidity, that basically the Solidity ecosystem, and what happened is the individuals that coded and built these dApps and DEXs on the Ethereum blockchain don't want to have to start from scratch. So think of it this way. It's like if I type up my email and I type up that email, and that's an email that I use every single day. Well, if I want to use that email and I go ahead and I get a new computer, well, if I save that email as an email signature in my Outlook and I go log on to my new computer that I bought and I log into my Outlook 360 and I sign in and my email's up, guess what? All my signatures are saved in there, right? Super easy. I was able to very easily transfer them from one computer to another computer by both computers being Microsoft 360 compatible. And so what Moonriver does is it is basically, for very easy way to understand, is a translator. So any of these dApps and any of these DEXs and any of these things operating on Ethereum can go ahead and immediately basically copy paste all their code right in, and the Moonriver bridge takes them right from the Ethereum ecosystem right onto the Kusama ecosystem. And then the Moonbeam bridge will do the same onto the Polkadot's ecosystem. So why would anybody want to do this? Well, why do you think phones, both in applications right now, have an iOS for Apple and an Android? Because they want to have the full audience. Not everybody is going to use an Android phone. Not everybody's going to use an iPhone. And so what these individuals do is by utilizing the Moonriver bridge, they can basically copy paste all their work and all their applications that are being done on Ethereum right onto Kusama, and now operate and not only do transactions much, much faster, because the Kusama ecosystem is a much, much faster ecosystem. It's much cheaper. The gas fees are like pennies on the dollar compared to Ethereum, and the finality of it is so much quicker. Meaning this, What is the most important thing that most people don't understand is if you were going to go in and you were going to buy something with Bitcoin and just using Bitcoin and try to transfer your Bitcoin from your Coinbase wallet and you're going to transfer it to Starbucks wallet, that finality could take an hour. Meaning Starbucks doesn't want to just let you walk out of the store if your transaction hasn't cleared. Well, Ethereum can do this, but they take about 10 to 15 minutes to create finality. Well, like Kusama can be done in mere seconds, or Phantom can be done in mere seconds. So by utilizing the entire user base and all the dApps that they built on Ethereum, they now can copy paste their work, put it on another ecosystem, and reach a whole new user base. And so for anybody that is doing that, they are going to be rewarded in these Moonriver tokens. Well, guess what? When you have more demand for something and you have a fixed supply like Moonriver has, and you need the Moonriver tokens to transact going from your Ethereum project into the Kusama ecosystem, it's going to drive up price. Which why, Gavin, if you want to share my screen again, which is why when we've seen that happen, these all-time highs have been reached pretty quickly after going ahead and doing this DeFi incentive programs, because these DeFi incentive programs have brought in more users to the actual ecosystems itself. For example, in Phantom, which Phantom is one of my absolute favorite projects out there, Phantom itself can literally do a 1-second finality, and the actual transactions since August 30th to today are up 7x, and the users have increased by 35%. Why? Because all the additional dApps that were migrated over to Phantom have brought in those new users, and they've been incentivized. So why am I talking about this? Is because now we have MOVR being launched, and if the past is anything indicative of the future, it's not an exact science, but you can usually read patterns. I think that Moonriver over the next 30 to 45 days, if this DeFi liquidity program is something that is going to actually really see the rewards, time to the perfect bull market cycle, Gavin, you can close that screen, we're going to see the ability that I think we could see Moonriver break some new all-time highs after it's currently in this pullback. So Matt, why don't you go ahead and pull up a little bit of, the Phantom and Moonriver and maybe give us some potentially good entry points or kind of what you're seeing in those charts for me.
Sure, Brian. Let's take a quick look at those charts. Gavin, if you mind pulling up my screen here. As far as Moonriver goes, Moonriver is actually offering right now, as we're speaking, a fantastic entry opportunity. So a lot of people, when they see tokens selling off like this, they get very fearful. If you're already in the token, it might be something that you're upset about. But the reality is this is an opportunity to add to your position or start dollar cost averaging in. So right here between 228 and 240 seems to be an area where we might catch support. Although idealistically, if I was me and I were to be looking to put an entry in and I wanted to place a limit where I could go to bed and this is going to fill no matter what, if price strikes down in this area, I'd love to see us come back and backtest this zone. And the reason I'd like to see us backtest this zone is this was the previous flag structure that was created, and this was the previous high. And when we broke through and created this next impulse to the upside, we never came back and really retested this area and ensured that anywhere from this $180 area all the way up to almost 200 was fully cleared out. So could we get about somewhere around 228, 230? Sure. But if it was me, and again, I'm trying to position myself into acquiring as many tokens as I can, I would look to place an order maybe around 200 and then another limit around 180. The reason you want to maybe place a couple limits is if price decides to dive a little deeper, the average entry ends up being right in the middle of that top entry and that bottom entry. As far as Phantom, this setup is looking almost a little bit better than Moonriver setup to me from just a technical standpoint. So this setup actually looks pretty similar to something else we looked at a few episodes ago, and that was Atom. So let's just go back to this Atom chart really quickly here. And we discussed what this looked like, again, on a weekly level. We're going to just explain why this is important here. When price came up and it struck above this area and then pulled back, and we came up and broke out and made a new all-time high, we pulled back into that zone one more time before we got that launch out of there, and now we're creating this nice flag to the upside. So if we come back over to Phantom, again, this is on a much smaller level, but we're seeing a very similar structure, right? We had the huge impulsive breakout move here, and now we're pulling back and testing back into this area. I would definitely be placing an order somewhere around here to see if we get a double bottom bounce right around $2. $2.01. And I would love it if price came back and really just gave this area a little bit more confidence and bounce in here more than one time. It's very common for us to see price consolidate and check an area more than once if it's going to launch heavily to the upside. So patience is definitely key here. Don't go piling in. Let's watch for a bounce here. And I think that there's some fantastic gains to be made. One token I wanted to briefly touch on that we've been talking about is XRP. So we've been watching for this breakout in XRP. I mentioned in the last stream that we were looking to get back above 106. 106 was the zone to get back above, and we had a fantastic breakout. This breakout ended up being just above 13%, I believe, from bottom to top here, 15% to the top of this wick. We just came just shy of touching this 50% Fibonacci at $1.24. I really wanted 124. We came about half a cent short, but we will get back up there. And now we're getting this nice pullback. And I know there's a lot of you getting into XRP. You're just starting your XRP position, as we've been talking about it more on the Crypto Charts Instagram. Make sure you are following the Crypto Charts Instagram so you can follow everything we're talking about on there. So I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about some of the partners that Ripple has developed over the years that is going to kind of help XRP move forward. And again, if you hadn't watched our previous episodes, Ripple and XRP are completely separate, but Ripple Labs uses XRP as part of their products that they pitch to banks and institutions. So really quickly here, this was just September 23rd. This is from the Royal Monetary Authority of Bhutan, which is in Southeast Asia. And it's a pilot project on the central bank digital currency. And what I need you to understand about pilots is that banks and institutions, especially huge ones of this size, they don't do these pilots for fun. Okay, these are people who are overseeing the entire regulatory system in relations to how money is moved inside and outside of banks. So to see the a big government like this stepping in and saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and try out Ripple and XRP, and we're going to see if this works for remittance payments. If we look just in April of last year, Ripple partnered with one of the largest banks in Vietnam. This was in May of this year. They partnered with banks in Egypt and Lulu. And then in Canada, this was in 2020, and also over here in Japan and Thailand. So this is more than just a token that's going to go up because everyone's euphoric about it and everybody believes in it. There is a real world use case that's already in place here. America is not the only place that matters. And in fact, remittance payments are internationally settled far more on a much greater scale than they are here in America. So they're solving the actual issue by going straight to the countries that need it most and implementing it there where they're not going to have all this regulatory restriction. So again, when we talk about XRP and we look at price action today, $1.12, $1.25, $1.30, it really doesn't matter. You should be dollar cost averaging into this because our targets are going to be 5, 7, 10, and maybe 13 if we get all the way out there. So definitely something that we need to be paying attention to. Brian, do you want to tell us a little bit about what is going to be happening next week with our project?
Yes, I do. I was waiting for that cue. So this baby of ours, Crypto Charge, has been our eat, sleep, every waking moment, a mixture of everything that we have been pouring our blood, sweat, and tears for into this project because we knew we had to get something out to you guys before we wanted to really deliver on just some weak promise, which is why we've been delivering to you guys consistent content, and we are ready. October 18th, 1 week from today, our crypto platform will be launching. On that platform, you will be able to have every single, we're launching initially, but about 4, maybe 5 days of a daily update that are going to be streamed just like this for our users, making sure that not only you guys can really get in on the projects that we're getting in on, but also making sure to take profits when we actually are taking profits, because who cares how much money you make if you can't hold on to it? And we're also, too, going to be having a deep library of content that we're going to be continually adding to. We're going to be having all the events, custom curated news, as well as text alerts, because at the end of the day, you guys are busy. You guys aren't going to have the ability to scrub Twitter and find out, like this Moonriver, like, oh my gosh, like this came out. Now, you guys are going to have the ability, if you can time this right, and if it works out how we think it's going to work out, make some big gains. We're going to do that legwork for you. And on big news, let's say Elon Musk gets another hair up his you-know-what and comes out and says he wants to, start accepting Bitcoin again for Teslas. Well, guess what? Something that's that heavy, we're going to send you a text message and let you guys know exactly what's to have happen and all these other types of things. So we're going to give you guys a demo on the project this week. It's going to be at cryptocharge.com. I guarantee you guys the platform, the way we're going to be launching it for basically the beta version of our first 500 users, we're going to slash the price for all of you guys and actually make it under $50 a month. I'll tell you guys right now, there's platforms out there that are $300-$400 a month that aren't even 1/10 as what this is going to do. This is going to be designed for the individual that wants to actually supercharge their crypto portfolios, but also too wants to learn. But you don't have to be a data analyst or a programmer or the perfect TA like Matt and Dan are. That's not. We're going to teach you guys, though, the basics of where to get in, where to get out, how to read charts, bring projects to your attention, our hot picks, and most importantly, you're going to see what our bags are. You're going to see when we're updating our bags, what we're buying, what we're selling, what the percentage of our portfolio, all this is in. So you guys are not going to want to miss it. You guys are going to be getting a little sneak peek later this week. And then October 18th, 1 week from today, the first 500 people that sign up, it's only going to be $49 a month for those beta, for those individuals. And what we're going to be adding to this is just going to be through the moon. So this is about 1/10 of where we see this going. And we are so excited, and the team behind us is so excited to bring this to you guys. So we can't wait. And with that, I'll let you guys, get back to the rest of your days, and make sure to stay tuned. Watch us on CryptoCharge TikTok. Watch us on CryptoCharge Instagram. If there's projects you want us to talk about, please send us a DM there. We are really engaged with you guys. Our engagement's been through the roof. I mean, we're talking 70-80% user base engagement. So Facebook and Instagram and TikTok are really liking us right now. So we appreciate that support. So drop us those DMs and stay tuned for the promo video later this week. And make sure to stay tuned Wednesday, 4 p.m. this week